Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reason Choice Media.
Welcome.
All right. Welcome home, everybody. Welcome to today's MiniPod. We are going to be querying ourselves about something that's not so political, much more personal, and maybe some of you all can relate to. Have you ever been, thought of in your family, your friend group, your circle as the solver, as the person who gets it done, as the person, once you mention it, that person lights up and jumps to it? Well, of the three of us, I think all three of us have been that amongst our respective circles. And so today we want to talk a little bit about whether or not we are just doing too much. And if we are, why we might be feeling compelled to do too much or anything. I always think about these things, ladies, as being, sort of unhealed traumas of our past. And I don't know if that's true or not, but I think we often see people look at people who jump to it, who get things done through the sympathetic lens of they just like to solve problems versus what is, I think, probably a truer scenario that we've got some things we got to solve for ourselves, and in our inability to do that for ourselves, it's much easier to do it for other people. But I'm curious to know if y'all have a thought on that, and if I've set that up properly. I may not have.
I think so. I think that resonates with me.
So if that's the case, then Angela, we'll start with you. Define yourself on this spectrum of solve all the problems to, I'll just sit and wait till you tell me to do something.
Yeah.
I already know you ain't at that end of it, but love to hear where you think you are.
I will tell you, I don't know where the trauma came from, but that is, when you said that, is deeply resonant. There's a side of me that feels like my dad required us to show up for family. And because of how Black folks' families are, they extend far beyond the bloodline. And so, if there was a need, you step up and you meet the need, whether it's communal, cultural, or in your intermediate family. And I mentioned on our main podcast that Tiff was like, she wasn't like, why you do that? But essentially that was the conversation. Like, have you thought about why you do that? And it makes me really emotional because I can't think of a time where I have stood up for myself with the fierceness and the quickness that I will for anybody and almost everybody else. I was suspended in the 7th grade for fighting someone else's fight, right? Like I literally, and if even with my own father, if there's something where he wants me to do something, I feel really bad telling him no. And I've had to work on that in therapy. What does that have to do with stepping into crises? I actually love solving crises. I love a crisis response. And it's because I think deep down, I want to be helpful. I think probably the inner child in me is like, help me that same way. And I don't know how. I only know how to perform for other people. I think it has been a journey that I'm far from finishing to step up for myself in the same way.
Interesting. Tiff, what about you?
I'll say about me, but I want to say this about Angela.
See, I think we shouldn't comment on her yet.
Can I comment? Make one comment?
I want us to reserve it to our introspection.
I'm not even gonna make a comment. I just want to make a comment. What?
See, no, veto.
Andrew said since you went to break in the middle of my comment last episode,
Where are you?
Okay, I'll say something about me, but I wasn't gonna comment about Angela. I was gonna add something to it, but fine. Andrew said I can't.
You remember, that's the better part about your memory, because mine ain't.
I will remember because I got something to say about it. But and Andrew, you were there for that conversation, by the way.
Oh, I remember.
Did
they ask if it was initiated by you saying, did they ask you to do that?
Yeah.
Did he ask you to do anything?
He said no one ever. Yeah. Nobody ever asked me to do it. I just be gone.
I completely understand how Angela feels. I will say I have learned to compartmentalize and take on what I can. And that's because there have been several times in life where I felt myself about to break. And so now I am very clear to protect myself from the stress and anxiety that I can feel by taking on other people's sugar honey iced tea. Like, I just cannot do it. So I have to, and even stuff that does impact me, I have to decide, is this something I'm going to carry or not? And it's like, my arms are full. I'm already, if I didn't help myself relax and go to sleep, this same energy that we have on the pod, I will be wide awake at 3 a.m, 4 a.m. And I spent most of my teen years, my 20s and my 30s with that level of angst where I just felt like I couldn't exhale. Even now, I pace the floor for hours. You know, if I'm thinking, if I'm right, you know, I have to turn off my phone. I keep my phone on silent probably 20 hours a day, just because it's like a breathing entity, you know, like the constant bzz, bzz, bzz,
just like Andrew just me now. Out. But he's in the middle of
I
the
know,
storm.
I heard that. But I thought that might be a warning about the storm. Yeah. So for me, I can show up for other people at a point where it's not betraying myself. And betraying myself can look like a different. It's like if you need to sleep, it's not. You know, you owe your body sleep because then you can show up for this person better. If you are sad right now, if you're dealing with your own stuff and you're heavy, like you can't be that to somebody else, you know? So take your time to get yourself together and then show up in the capacity that feels right and healthy. For me, I have always in my life, I felt responsible for my mother. I felt responsible for my brother and I who grew up in the house together. I felt responsible for him for a while. He probably felt responsible for me for a while, especially when we were kids. But I had to decide I got to focus on my mom, you know, so I can help her with whatever I can. And my brother can focus on his kids, you know, so it kind of works. Something, Angela, you say, we all we got. And that's why we feel that way. We all we got. What about you, Andrew? I feel like you're,
I don't know.
With some people, you're a catch-all. With other people, you're a
free-for-all.
Laissez-faire, yeah. You know, and that's shifted over the years. The more in need I have been, probably the less I have been able to of late show up for others because the volume has gotten so high. It's sort of a fight or flight, you know, sort of decision that has to be made. But I mean, forever and for the longest time, and I don't know how to get to the source of it. I have not gotten to the source of it. You know, the value that I felt I brought to many relationships was my ability to solve the problems. That if I wasn't doing that, I wasn't sure that I was offering a great deal. Partly because I don't do a great job listening to I historically hadn't done a great job listening to the problem, because as you're talking to me about the problem, my mind is immediately going to like, okay, well, what you can do about it is this, is that, and the third. Part of that, I think, is as a child, I was always frustrated that everybody was complaining around what we can't have and what we don't have and what we da-da-da-da and this is that and the third, that I was grew very tired of all the reasons why not, all the thing, why we can't help the situation, that the things are being done to us. But I think I grew almost a muscle-like resistance to this idea that there wasn't something within our power that we could do about whatever that thing was. And in some cases, as I look back on it, there wasn't anything we could do. We were really, we were slave to whatever that system was. And then, as I learned more, changed up environments and so on and so forth, then it was like, okay, you got the power to do it. And if they're not going to do it, then we're going to do it for ourselves. And we're not going to wait for anybody to do this, is that, and the third. And this, almost religious like pushback against the idea that we couldn't solve it for ourselves. And then now, I've had my own trove of just the world, crumbling around me that I have not only not been really interested in accepting much help, but also not really in a position to offer much either. And that my time has been spent on like, okay, survival. So there's something there in the middle of all of that, but it isn't, I haven't been able to put a capstone on it. I do think there is something to this. Where do people derive value from me, right? Where do what am I doing? What am I contributing to the environment, to the situation that is additive? And if I can't surmise for myself that there's something there that's additive, then then maybe I don't need to be in this. And maybe they really don't want me in this and they won't say it because I'm really not adding anything. So I think there's a big self-value piece here, but I don't know the genesis of it.
That's so deep.
That is interesting. Yeah, because I kind of understand that feeling, like if I'm not living in service too. Yes. And I had that for a while, like even feeling guilt about relaxing, which I've abandoned. Agree. My grandmother, like until the day she died, she was always in service. She, went to the nursing home to take care of people. She was on the deacon board. She had choir rehearsal. She hosted things for the ladies. Would go to Costco and Sam's Club and get her, she was never idle. And I remember her, I spent all the summers with my grandmother. And I remember when she would come home and if I hadn't been doing anything, I felt embarrassed. She didn't say anything, but I just felt like, I need to get up and be doing something. And I think it's something about us Black folks, like, you know what, we deserve a life of ease sometimes. Like it's okay for us to have a day and breathe and exhale. The thing that Angela talked about on the main pod that I had said, and this isn't mine, I don't know who came up with this, but it's a common phrase when somebody's telling you something, you ask, do you want to be helped, heard, or hugged? And I think, to your point, Andrew, that is one of the things that drives me crazy when I'm telling one of my friends about my problem and they're rushing me to get to the end of the story. Yeah. And then they immediately start telling me how they can fix it. Totally. One, it presumes that I ain't thought about this shit for the past, 8 months or 8 years. I remember when I was, struggling to keep my business alive. And it was just one of the saddest, heaviest times in life for me. And I was just, trying to put out the beat. Angela, you remember those times? And I was just exhausted. And I would be with my friends and I would say, like, I'm just so exhausted. Like, I just don't know what to do. I'm spending like $20,000 a month of my own money. And one of my friends was like, you should ask like Oprah for some money. Bitch, why didn't I think of that? Let me text her right now to see how soon she can funnel me these money. She was supposed to
be my ride to college, by the way.
Right. I'm so annoyed. I'm like,
can she buy me a house?
No sense.
Right.
Thank you. It just makes no sense. And I would get so annoyed, or you should do this. But the you should, it would just drive me crazy. It's like, ask me more questions before you come up with a solution. First ask, well, how you doing? How you feel? How's your spirit? What can we do to help? Is there anything we can do to help? Or tell me more. What goes into running this business every day? Instead of let me immediately get to the solution, because that doesn't say that you care about me. That says you're so quick to make yourself feel good, to feed your own self-worth, that it really has nothing to do with me. Like, you're just trying to feed something in you. And I will say with both of you, it's interesting hearing you say this, because Andrew, I feel like you are consistently, like, every time we're together, we always have our time where we have like the deepest conversation. We're talking and connecting, and you're very helpful. You're a great listener. Angela, you always say, how's your heart? Like, how you doing? What I was gonna say, and Andrew vetoed, you always ask those questions, but I don't feel like you're always receptive to answering those questions. And I wonder, when you said you don't show up for yourself that way, and I'm like, yeah, I wonder what that is about. Like, do you ever, is there any space where you're like, let me break and let me just tell you?
Yeah, therapy. Therapy. But Andrew, even when Andrew was saying a thing earlier, and I will work on that, Tiff. I did hear your point. I don't want to bypass it. I will work on that more in therapy too. And with y'all, you guys are my unofficial therapy. Not just on the podcast, y'all. I will text them on the side.
Just because we send you there doesn't mean
No. You guys send me healing balm, and I'm grateful. Except for when you pout, say you're the only one that gets cut off in the middle of a break. But I will say, that I think it is really hard when you say that you're about to break. There's so many moments where we're carrying so many things for our families, for democracy, for the culture, for racial justice, for all these things. And somebody's like, how's your heart? You like, bitch, if I said for a minute, tell you, you will break. Yeah. And so you're like,
can't
because you said this, Andrew, like it's survival. It is a survival response to not dig deeper in that moment. If I know that I don't have the capacity, because in 5 minutes I got to be on air, or in 5 minutes I got to do, you just kind of can't. And so even you talk about the helped, held, or hugged, helped, what is it? Helped,
heard, or hugged.
from that, I got like, does the person want to vent? Does the person need you to actively listen, like asking some of the probing questions? I think Tiff is very good at that. Andrew, we've both been on the receiving end of those questions. And then, or are they seeking advice? Like, you should ask Oprah for a check. Or do they want you to solve and do something? And my default is to solve and do something. Again, it's not to be overbearing. It's not to insert myself. I think that deep down, it is the thing that seems like, for me, it shows me love. Like, you are willing to utilize your own contacts, your own resources, your own time to guide me through a process. And when I have had the few opportunities, and some of them with y'all, to surrender into that, it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna give y'all some inside information as a touch point. And it's both of these guys. We really are like family. We FaceTimed Andrew, who had just got out the shower, so he could not help us. But I had literally sent him texts that were like, help! What you doing? Help! Because I knew that I could have a whole meltdown. I was really ready to have a meltdown recently about a live show. And Tiff, who normally does not like to be bothered, I was like, you have a whole like production background. I'm gonna need you because we might lose our spot. Like, I need you to help. And Tiff came in, and not only did she come in, when I thought I was helping to solve the thing, she was like, I need you to go over there. Like, I just need you to go over there. You not helping how you think you helping. And I was like, you know what? I can't see myself, but I believe that's probably true. I'm trying to talk to the man outside. I'd be like, yes, just please. She's like, bye, go. And I think that in those moments, you can't see yourself. All you know is like, you have an indesired goal and this thing that needs to happen. It's the same thing as when they tell lawyers, like, don't ever be a lawyer for yourself. You like, you can't see yourself.
Worst client.
When I tell you guys, because of Tiff's involvement in this, we ended up with a far better position than I could have ever imagined. She has an eye. She is innovative. She is creative. She don't like to insert herself in your stuff, but boy, when she does, okay? She comes through in the clutch. And it's the same thing for Andrew. There are so many times where he'll be like, well, have you thought about it? And I'm like, no, I didn't think about this. You know, so I thank God for y'all. And I appreciate that even in the times when I said I'm just venting, you did step up to solve, because sometimes we don't actually know what we really need because we can't see ourselves.
You know, it's funny
for me, it's when you are like panicked, you know, like when your energy is like, you know, it is hard to see that. And it's not that I don't want to be bothered. It's that I'm carrying other things, you know, it's like and you know, like some of the stuff I'm carrying, sometimes it is my finances, you know, like I'm already stressed over that. Sometimes it is my other production that I do with Will Packer. You know, that's it's like taping 8 Native Lands in one day, you know, and it's like, I gotta, you know, spend weeks preparing for that. Sometimes it's family stuff. Sometimes it's my own brokenness, my own heartbreak. Sometimes it's, you know, this foolish man who I didn't, you know, gave access to me, who
is not going to get an advertisement on this podcast.
Not today,
but he don't look. Speak the devil's name, and so shall he appear. He don't exist anymore. Okay, he don't exist. But Angela, you know, and Andrew, you already know, he don't even have access. He don't even have access. So but you do know how it is when your heart is hurting, and it's like I don't have room for anything else. I don't have space for somebody else's panic. I don't have space for somebody, you know, tears or whatever it is. It's like I'm about to lose it, and I can show up about to lose it, looking like this, sounding like this, acting like everything is fine. But in here, this is broken. I'm shaken with nerves. I'm on the verge of tears, but I've swallowed them down long enough just so I can be in this space with you all and not, you know, infected with my own sadness. And so it's not that I'm like, well, I don't want to be bothered. That's it. I don't ever have that attitude. It's I'm holding as much as I can right now, and I can't hold anything else. Now, when I see my sister is holding as much as she can and people keep dumping on it and I see her about to break and fall, then yes, in those moments of extreme energy, let me set my stuff down and go over here and help my sister with this right now. And I think that happens most around our live show.
I do think we all owe it to each other to deepen into the why, because Angela, you said that I know to be true with me, which is the things that we do, what we put out of ourselves is
that is a warning, Andrew.
Yeah, I know.
That is a warning.
E40 in the click
one said,
hurricane. But you can call me
Seriously, are you okay?
So, yeah, this is just doubling down on what we know, a direct hit toward Tallahassee, and evacuations are being ordered. So, I will say, I think one thing that was resonant there was how we give love is also in some ways how we wish to receive it.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm most critical of people, used to be anyway, when I wasn't receiving the love the way I was giving it out, which is why, I had to reach the epiphany that love language was about learning the love language of other people. You're not just yourself.
Yeah. Yep.
And that way you can give it in a way that they can receive it, just like you're wanting them to deliver to you in a way you can receive it. But I know that this is not all that we're not the only ones dealing with this. I know amongst the listeners, everybody is struggling, and we could give ourselves some grace here would be my advice.
What does that look like though? Because people say that.
For me, because it is a new thing. What that means for me is recognizing I'm not a superhero or a superhuman.
Yes.
And that as just a normal breathing person, I can get tired too. I can want to rest too. I can realize that, this problem that I've been thinking I can solve and only me is not intractable for everybody. That maybe somebody else ought to have the shot at solving the thing. And maybe they might get further than I can. So, all which is contrary to how I thought of myself and what I'm supposed to be doing for practically all of my life up to this point. I'm the one who can do it. It cannot be done. And if it was done by somebody else, it wouldn't be done to the level at which I would expect. Right. And so on and so forth. But you know what, boo, I'm not that special. All those things that are only for me are not just for me. I'm requiring that probably to protect myself from something else, a different reality that I don't want to deal with. So grace is just that. It's letting yourself off a little bit without all the judgment. At least as far as I've
Can I share
experienced.
something that you said to me that I think is so good? We were talking about, I can't remember what emotion. It was either shame or regret. And you said those are emotions that only take.
They don't redeem.
They don't get,
They don't give you anything. They take.
Yes. I want you to know I've repeated that to several people and I did not give you credit. So y'all know that came from me.
She loves to steal Andrew stuff. She loves
it. Ain't mine either.
He said it's not his either.
But it's such a beautiful sentiment.
Something's not redeemable.
Yeah.
When this thing is a leech and it's not here to give you anything, it's only here to take. Golly.
I wanted to offer two things on grace, the grace question. The first is perfection is not required. The second is we have to stop expecting ourselves from other people. That is grace for us and it's grace for them. And how dare we think that our way is the only way? That is so egotistical.
Hallelujah.
So egocentric. And thank God that's not the only way. Can you imagine how flat this world would actually be? Shout out to the Hoteps. If we did actually believe, if we moved that way. So thank God that there's some difference. So thank God there's divergent experiences and all of that. And yes.
And multiple ways of getting to where you want to go.
Yes. Well, I want to know y'all's love languages so I can love you better, you guys.
Oh, let's do that. Okay.
Mine are acts of service.
I don't know. Yeah.
Andrew said, "Solve my. I would like to try it."
Mine, I have two, and I don't know if you can solve these, Angela. Mine is time spent and physical touch.
Well, I can go on a walk with you.
She can hold your hand,
and I can still give you a hug. I give good hugs.
Okay. I was thinking of another physical touch, but yeah,
it doesn't specify that. But if you're going, you guys know what I'm going to tell you. One of mine is cooking. That's not in there, but it should be. I guess it could technically be an act of service. But I really like words of affirmation. The problem is, I think words of affirmation have to also align up with your actions. So I know that's not in there neither, but y'all know I'm a little bit of a rebel.
I like that.
But I feel like even when we give you words of affirmation, sometimes you are quick to divert.
Deflect them.
Yes.
Okay, so let me specify. I really like for my birthday this year, since I think my birthday's coming up before either of y'all's again.
Yes, I'm already.
I like love notes. Like send me a nice encouraging note. You know?
I love that.
Yeah. Like it doesn't. I don't want to be like, oh, Angela, let me tell you, girl, you did such a good job. I'll be like,
I love that.
Not that kind. Like something that's deeper. You know.
I like that. I like
that
beautiful.
more than anything. And they're free, except for your time is still valuable. Though I don't want to discount your time. But Yes.
That's real. I love that.
I do. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So y'all, I appreciate your vulnerability and willingness to lean into this. And for our listeners, I know this is different than our, normal Politico, but guess what? We're trying to be rounded. We're trying to elevate as a culture, as
our
a community.
Therapy
always,
on
right?
Native Land Podcast.
So, hey, if you benefit, send us a bill.
Send us a check. Do we want
a bill, a couple of bills.
$1 bill. How about a tubbin? We'll take some tubbins.
I don't want no checks.
Some tubbins.
I
would like to. What they can do for us is tell us how they show themselves grace, some of their self-care practices.
I love that.
I'd be curious because I'm trying to show myself grace, and it's like a journey. Yeah. We talked about this on the last podcast, Angela, when you were saying on your journey home to yourself. That was like 2 years ago, I think. And I didn't even really know what that meant. And I understand what that means now because I am definitely on a journey home to myself. And it feels great. I mean, I have to say, because I went through some dark times. Like I was I went from being on top of the world to feeling like the world was on top of me. And now for anyone going through that, and I know personally a few people going through that, it just feels so great to come out on the other side, to see light and to, see sunshine and, just things you can do for yourself. Yeah. One thing I always made sure that I did in my darkest times, my rules for myself, you got to get up early and take a shower. Like when you wake up, go take a shower and get dressed. Even if you're getting dressed with putting on a fresh new pair of pajamas. But you do have to get up so you can't lay in bed.
Move.
Yes.
Do something.
And you got to walk around the block one time.
Move.
That was some of my self-care. But the thing is, when I'm walking around the block, I'm making out with a dog I see.
She doesn't mean that literally.
I'm seeing people.
Take your dogs away, please.
Well, I am smooching and, like, oh, look at little cute puppy.
Tiff's
and when
voice
people
is
tell
a
me
different thing.
Yes.
Well, don't be.
Yes, and the fear of the dog owners.
You guys, guess what?
They could be
this
fearful.
is about to become a full, long podcast.
Okay,
we're done.
Because we still had time with the videographers.
We have to still do our. We still have to do our. Yes, welcome home, everybody.
But we had them until.
Thank you for joining us.
We still have to cut what we're cutting from the podcast.
Okay, I was gonna make a special announcement. I'll tell y'all now.
Oh, tell us. But you want to announce it on the
Don't make it in the mini. Don't make it in the mini.
Well, I gotta think of what it is. What it might be. I'll make it on the next.
Oh, jeez. On that note, have a great week, everybody. Welcome home.
Welcome home, y'all.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeart Radio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeart Radio, visit the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.